Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another video to get to today, but first, I don't know how many subscribers we have. We recorded this ahead of time, but shout out to all the subscribers. And special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members Y2KHA, Brendon, Mikel, Scott, Todd, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tigers 75, Salacious, Crumb, Ryguy, and Brendon Nelson's haircut. You made it. This is the last video in this series. After you watch this video, you will have gone through the full journey, assuming you watched all the previous ones, of how I would address the various issues, small or big, with the Seahawks roster going into this offseason. And this last one is so small of a concern, you could argue that I shouldn't even be wasting any time on it. And you'd have a point. The safety position is one position the Seahawks have made massive investments in lately. And going into 2021, those investments are mostly still here. However, I do feel like it's worth spending a few minutes to draw attention to the fact that the Seahawks only have two full-time, in my opinion anyway, other people may feel differently about certain players, but two full-time safeties. Jamal Adams, who's obviously the man, and Quandre Diggs, who is also the man, in fairness. So, yeah, not a lot of depth behind those guys. Now, we have some flexibility here, and ESPN does a pretty good job representing that. Ryan Neal. I view Ryan Neal as more of a cornerback than a safety, but he can play safety. He's certainly an option. We saw him play safety a little bit last year, and he did fine. Marquise Blair. We drafted him as a safety, and he's played a couple games at nickel corner, and we don't know if he can do it or not. Right now, I think the team views him as a nickel corner, but no guarantee that will continue on. Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers played safety in college. Yeah, we moved into corner. Is that really working right now? I don't know. Maybe Trey Flowers can move back to safety. Heck, Ugo Amadi could be a safety. So I don't know if you would consider safety to be a need, because even if people get hurt, if Adams gets hurt, if Diggs gets hurt, we can move players around and easily field a full defensive backfield. However, if you view those guys as being more corner than safety, it's thin, right? Because after Jamal and Diggs, you don't really have anybody on the roster going into 2020 who is a full-time dedicated safety. And this video is going to take a few minutes to address that potential hole in the roster. So, for those of you who feel like Neal, Flowers, Amadi, and Blair are corners, keep watching. All right. We're going to look at free agency first, and obviously we're not going to look at any of the big names, the guys who are big-time players who are going to make a lot of money, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to get somebody who can sit on the bench and play when somebody gets hurt. So three guys caught my eye. The first is Xavier Woods from the Cowboys. He's 26 years old, very fast. He's been moderately successful so far in Dallas over the last 4 years. He has like 5 interceptions and 18 pass deflections. He's played a decent amount, mostly as a starter, actually, so he's got some pretty good experience, but he hasn't really been on very good defenses other than that one half a season in Dallas where they had a really nice defense. And I'm not sure if he's a starter going forward. So if Xavier Woods is the guy that I suspect he is, which is just another guy, a jag, if you will, this is actually kind of interesting to me. His PFF grade last year was 62 almost, which is pretty good. It's not particularly special or anything, but it's right on that line between bad starter and good backup. And I feel like there's still a little bit of upside with this guy. I think some of his shortcomings could easily be put on the fact that the Cowboys haven't had the best defensive schemes lately. They had Mike Nolan last year, who was obviously a mess, and in years before that, they've had guys like Rod Marinelli, who I'm not high on either. So Xavier Woods is the first guy that I would bring in to compete for a backup spot. Next would be our old friend, that's right, we're running it back, Bradley McDougald. After a pretty crap season in New York, he's not going to get paid this offseason, I think is reasonably safe to say. I know nobody really looks good in New York, but the dude had such a bad, injury-laden, just ugly season for the Jets. I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to feel lucky if he can stay in the NFL. So if you look at what he did in 2020, yeah, okay, I'm not really going to spend any time on this. If you go deep into the advanced metrics, it's not good. But we know what he can do in Seattle. He played in Seattle for 3 years, and he was quite good. He wasn't great, and he's about to turn 31, so he might be hitting a different phase of his career. But I think that he may very well decide, hey, let's go be a backup in Seattle for the rest of my career. And, hey, Jamal Adams might be injury prone. The verdict is still out on that for me, but if he is, getting a capable, strong safety backup is a pretty good idea. So if Bradley McDougald is willing to play for a reduced salary, which I suspect is the case after what he did in 2020, PFF grade of 41, by the way, woof. Yeah, I would say that Bradley McDougald coming in to play backup for us would be nice. Last name, we're going to go to A.J. Moore. I went through a bunch of different of these low-level backup to bad starter safeties, and A.J. Moore stuck out to me because he's young. He played a decent amount for Houston last year. Started 5 games, actually. He didn't exactly blow the covers off of anything, but it was okay. 35 tackles, a tackle for loss, a couple hits on the quarterback, a sack. Advanced stats are fine, I guess. And his PFF grade is not very good, but that's why I think he's going to be a backup in 2021. So A.J. Moore, I kind of like the talent here. I don't know. There's just something about A.J. Moore that kind of caught my eye when I was going through potential free agents. All right. Now that we're done with that, let's talk draft. And yeah, I'm not going to even pretend that we might pick a safety in the second round this year. If we do, I'm going to be furious, and I don't think I need to explain why. But we're going to skip past that, and we're going to take a look at what we could do in the 5th round or later, basically. Maybe 4th, but most likely 5th or later. So here are the guys that I like. I found 3 of them bunched together here on this list. The first guy is Darrick Forrest from Cincinnati. He's got decent size. He's 6 feet, 200 pounds. And he had a very good 2019. Very strong 2019. In particular, 100-plus tackles, 3.5 for loss, 3 picks. The dude was a playmaker. He was around the ball. He did a lot of positive things for the Cincinnati defense in 2019. He projects to be a safety in the NFL, not a nickel corner, which is an important distinction to make. So, yeah, his 2020 was not great, but he only played 9 games, so it's not exactly shocking. And he still had 2 picks, still a bit of a ball hawk. So, Darrick Forrest was my first guy. Ardarius Washington from TCU was the next guy who got my attention. He's young, red-shirted sophomore. He is small, but much like Earl Thomas, he plays like a much bigger player. He is very physical, and that could lead to problems later. But this is a guy who hasn't put up huge numbers yet. He hasn't played a lot in college football yet, but in 2019, which was his best season so far, the dude had 5 interceptions, which tells me that he's a bit of a ball hawk, and that's something I like to look for. It's what we didn't get out of Tedrick Thompson, which is why the Tedrick Thompson experiment didn't work out. So Ardarius Washington's my next guy, and the final guy is Reed Blankenship, safety from Middle Tennessee. Again, decent size, 6'1", 200 pounds almost. And he played 4 years for this CUSA team. And the dude had 8 picks across 4 years. Pretty good. Had 100 tackles 1 year. Was very productive making tackles in the backfield his first 2 seasons for MTS, I guess we'll call it. And yeah, just of the names I was looking at, he caught my eye by being a playmaker and being somebody who was constantly around the ball. And that's going to do it for this video. That's going to do it for this series. We've now taken a look at everything. We've now covered every area that needs to be covered. And I think we've covered even a couple areas that probably don't need to be covered because, again, we have a lot of defensive backfield flexibility. But if you think we need a new backup safety, these are the guys I would look at. 3 free agents that would be cheap and 3 draft picks that would be mid to late. And with that, I am done. Peace out, go Hawks. See you guys in stream later. Next video you see from me, I will be combining all this stuff into one video to talk about the players that I want the Seahawks to keep this offseason. But you'll see that when you see it. Go Hawks.